If you look closely at the world map, you will find that the US is a geographically secluded country located in a corner. The proof of the pudding lies in the fact that America was not even on the charter of geographies to which the European colonists were trying to find a sea route to. Christopher Columbus discovered it as a mere accident while trying to locate India. That is why the discovery of America fits the technical meaning of the word discovery, which means something which was already there. However, 538 years down the line, the same isolated geography is in the command of the world, so much so that it has kept nearly 60 countries under various sanctions. Do you know why? Because the people who colonized America had the gall to look beyond their immediate neighborhood. Now is the time for resurgent India to do the same. Namaste and welcome to TFI English, the national socio-political analysis arm of the TFI Media Group. I'm your host Piyush, and if you are watching us on Facebook, give our page a like. And if you are watching us on YouTube, like the video and subscribe to the channel. Coming back to the story, in this video, I'm here to tell you why Iran is an essential element of India's 21st century ambitions. According to a report by Hindustan Times, India and Iran have only minor issues to sort out before handing over Chabahar's control to India. If the deal is finalized, then India will gain another 10 years to boost its connectivity in Central Asia. Moreover, reports of talks about automatic extension of the deal are also emerging from Foreign Affairs Circle. In August, Sarbananda Sonowal, India's Minister for Ports, Shipping and Waterways, visited Iran. The prospects of a long-term deal got a further boost during his visit. Apparently, only minor issues are currently hampering the deal, one of which is the way in which parties will resolve arising conflicts. You see, Iranian constitution does not allow arbitrations arising in its geography to be solved outside. On the other hand, the Indian side is demanding that arbitration proceedings should be solved on neutral forums. Currently, a constitutional amendment in Iran is difficult, and that is why legal and technical experts are trying to chalk out a middle way. Chabahar port is possibly the most important strategic port for both Iran and India at the current juncture of time. The main reason behind it is its location and capacity to control heavier cargo routes. Iran has two main ports. One of them is Bandar Abbas port and the other one is Chabahar port. The problem with Bandar Abbas port is that it is highly congested due to it not being a deep water port. Bandar Abbas can only handle cargo ships which can carry 1 lakh tons or less, while most of the cargo ships carry around 2.5 lakh tons of cargo. For Iran, it increases its dependence on UAE, where 2.5 lakh ton capacity ships are docked and cargo is then transferred to smaller ships. In the wake of increasing tensions between Gulf nations and Iran, it is imminent that Iran would like to minimize the use of Bandar Abbas port. This is where Chabahar port comes in handy for Iran. It is the only Iranian port in Iran with direct access to ocean. It is located in Sistan Balochistan province of Iran. Did the word Balochistan ring a bell? Of course. Yes, this is where India's strategic interest comes in. Chabahar port is located just 72 kilometers away from Gwadar port of Balochistan, which is under Pakistan's occupation. Gwadar port is currently a focal point of dying China-Pakistan economic corridor. China wanted to use Gwadar as an Asian cross-section of the maritime part of its Belt and Road Initiative. This is one of the reasons why India sometimes expressed too much eagerness in recent times for getting control of Chabahar port. However, the China angle is more recent, and it was exacerbated only after Xi Jinping came to power with imperialist ambitions. Under the able leadership of former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee, Indian policymakers had foreseen its importance way back in the late 1990s. During those times, a small but significant rise of leaders with a long-term vision was just becoming a trend. In Russia, Putin had just got control of government, while in India, PM Vajpayee was established and formidable leader among masses. On this day, as of 12th September, we are celebrating the 22nd anniversary of establishment of the International North-South Transport Corridor. The corridor is 7,200 kilometers long. It connects India's Mumbai to Russia's St. Petersburg. North and West Europe, Persian Gulf, Central Asia, and Caspian Sea are some of the major components of this corridor. INSTC has brought down the carriage cost by more than 30%, while transit time has been reduced to 20 days from earlier 40 days. If its full potential is realized, then INSTC will drastically reduce India's energy dependence on the Gulf. Currently, INSTC is operational and is being touted as a route which will put the final nail in the coffin of Western hegemony on traditional trade routes. But geographical complications make it compulsory for India to take Iran's Chabahar port on board. Due to earlier stated reasons, Bandar Abbas always had the potential to derail much touted INSTC. In early 2000s, India's foreign policy establishment brainstormed to find a more feasible long-term plan, and Iran's decision to revive Chabahar port turned out to be a big boon for India. In 2003, Vajpayee administration gave its nod to expand the Chabahar port and lay a railway track between Chabahar and Zaranj. Zaranj is a city in Afghanistan bordering Iran. During PM Vajpayee's days, relations between post-Taliban Afghanistan and India were in good shape. India was looking for a way to help Afghanistan and simultaneously expand its trade footprints way beyond Afghan territory. One option for India was to go through Pakistan, but the terrorist nation can never be relied upon for it. So India also constructed a road from Del Ram in Afghanistan to Zaranj at the Iran-Afghanistan border. It cost $134 million to Indian exchequer. Apparently, India's thinking behind all these projects in Afghanistan was that the control of Shahid Beheshti section of Chabahar will help its business to get more orders. Meanwhile, India did follow all due diligence in Afghanistan. The Western sanctions turned out to be a dampener for India's prospects in Iran. Fearing backlash from the West, Manmohan Singh's government did not express enthusiasm in Chabahar port. The fear got ingrained among the establishment, which is evident from the fact that India was not willing to gain a foothold in Chabahar at a time when the pro-Iran Obama establishment was in power in America. Finally, in May 2015, both countries agreed to operate two berths at the port for 10 years. India Ports Global, a joint venture between Jawaharlal Nehru Port Trust and Kandala Port Trust, in partnership with Iran's Arya Banadir, were selected to jointly operate the berths for 10 years. In May 2016, India, Iran and Afghanistan signed a trilateral agreement. 12 memorandums of understanding were also signed in order to facilitate India's access to Afghanistan and through it to Central Asian region. To make it seamless, all three countries committed at least $21 billion to Chabahar Hajigak corridor from Iran to Afghanistan. India also gave a $150 million credit line to Iran. 7 Indian companies have already been awarded the $11 billion worth of Hajigak iron and steel mining project in central Afghanistan. India has also committed $2 billion to Afghanistan for developing supporting infrastructure, including the Chabahar Hajiganj railway. India has pledged that it would invest $85 million in the development of the terminal. India would mainly invest in modernizing ancillary infrastructure by installing 4 rail-mounted gantry cranes, 16 rubber tire gantry cranes, 2 reach takers, 2 empty handlers, and 6 mobile harbor cranes. Moreover, India also agreed to invest $8 billion in Chabahar Special Economic Zone. Iran is developing this economic zone in order to use Chabahar as a gateway to Central Asia. For this purpose, a free trade zone and road and rail links are also in the pipeline. Nitin Gadkari, India's Minister of Road Transport and Highways, has expressed interest around the zone as well. His analysis suggests that Indian companies could invest 1 lakh crore in the zone with the caveat that Indian companies would want cheaper natural gas from Iran. All of these aforementioned technological upgrades and handling and investment proposals are slated to increase Chabahar's capacity to handle 8 million tons of cargo. In 2016, the year in which the tripartite agreement was signed, it could only handle 2.5 million tons. Apart from strategic, India's long-term economic advantage from the port is also attached. A fully operational Chabahar will enable 60% reduction in shipment cost and 50% reduction in shipment time from India to Central Asia. After a few months of India's first shipment of wheat to Afghanistan routed through Chabahar, IPGL official took control of the port. It has handled more than 4.8 million tons of bulk cargo till now. In 2018 itself, India and Iran signed an agreement worth $2 billion for cooperation in the railways sector. By that time, India's Atmanirbharta in railways manufacturing had started to grab international headlines, and India wanted to benefit from it. The agreement was slated to enable Iran to purchase locomotives and freight cars worth $600 million from India. The Indian government was also eager to invest in the Chabahar-Zahedan rail link, but American dilly-dallying on sanction regime meant that private Indian companies found it too risky to pitch in with full intensity. In 2020, Iran took it upon itself to construct a 700-kilometer long railway line. However, nearly 200 kilometers are still remaining, and the Biden administration at the helm of affairs in US means that there is leeway for Iran. Indian companies did not, and in fact even today do not, want to collaborate with a company which could invite Western sanctions on them. Meanwhile, within 2 years, India's might in railways sector has expanded exponentially, and that is why Iranian government is pitching another Iranian company for the development of the leftover of 200 kilometers for the stretch of the work. With the final authority on Chabahar, India is walking the talk of Atmanirbhar foreign policy. By being on friendly terms with Iran and Russia, it is giving a message to Western Asian countries that energy is not our weakness. Russia has already emerged as a thorn in the flesh of OPEC autocrats. Now, with the strategic and economic potential of India-Iran ties manifesting itself in the open, West Asia is getting the message that was needed to be communicated to it for decades. On the other hand, things are not bad in the Middle East as well. India is on good terms with almost every Arab nation. With Israel coming to the fore in I2U2, Iran will not be willing to offend India or harm its interest. In fact, it is already visible in geopolitical equations. In the wake of Nupur Sharma incident, both Iran and its Islamic rivals, the Gulf, had to come forward to criticize India. Soon, India beautifully maneuvered between the geographical blocks. While UAE President broke protocol for greeting PM Modi at airport, Iran was eager to ask for more of India's presence in the Chabahar economic zone. That is some balancing of interests. As I conclude, I want to state that just like Chicken's Neck corridor is central to India's plans for ASEAN region, Chabahar port is vitally important for India's role in Central Asia and the whole of Eurasia.